Okay, so let's dive right into this really fascinating diplomatic puzzle that's been unfolding in the Horn of Africa. You have this self-declared nation that's been fighting for recognition for over 30 years. And when it finally happens, it drives this wedge between two of the world's closest allies, the United States and Israel. So after more than 3 decades of, basically acting like an independent country in everything but name, the self-declared Republic of Somaliland finally got what it was looking for: formal, sovereign recognition from one nation on the world stage. But here's the twist. The nation that said yes was Israel, and its closest ally, the United States, almost immediately came out and said, nope, not happening. And that surprising public split, well, that's what we're going to break down today. To really get why this disagreement is such a big deal, we have to rewind a bit to the historic breakthrough that set this whole thing in motion. Okay, so since 1991, Somaliland has been in this state of complete diplomatic limbo. I mean, think about it. They had their own government, their own currency, their own military, but not a single country in the world officially recognized them. That all changed, and changed dramatically, on December 26, 2025.
On that day, Prime Minister Netanyahu's government announced that Israel would become the very first nation to formally recognize Somaliland as a sovereign state. This was absolutely monumental. It ended decades of being completely ignored by the international community.
But just as this new diplomatic chapter was starting for Somaliland, the United States made its position crystal clear. And it wasn't just a quiet disagreement, it was a firm public rejection. They hit the brakes hard.
Now, President Trump's dismissal wasn't some off-the-cuff remark. It was a reflection of a core policy. The message was pretty simple. The U.S. is going to prioritize its established interests and alliances and avoid what it sees as a risky new diplomatic entanglement.
So this is the crucial question, right? Why? Why did these two incredibly close allies go down completely opposite paths on the exact same issue? Let's break down what was motivating each of them.
So for Israel, this move fits perfectly into its bigger regional strategy. See, this isn't just about Somaliland. It's about expanding its network of partners in Africa and the Middle East. It's about maybe, just maybe, bringing another nation into the Abraham Accords framework, and of course, opening up brand new channels for trade and security cooperation.
Then you have the U.S. position under President Trump, which is, well, totally different. It's guided by a much more cautious America First framework. The focus here is on keeping things as they are, sticking with the long-standing policy of non-recognition, protecting the alliances they already have, and most importantly, not doing anything that could stir up more trouble in a region that's already pretty volatile.
And this slide really gets to the heart of the difference in their playbooks. You could say Israel is playing offense. They're proactively reaching out, trying to build new friendships and redraw the diplomatic map. The U.S., on the other hand, is playing defense, using restraint to protect the stability it already has.
So how does this U.S. decision actually play out on the ground? Well, it creates this incredibly complex set of risks and rewards. It's a true geopolitical balancing act, and the consequences are serious.
So look, on the one hand, by not recognizing Somaliland, the U.S. keeps its critical military partnership with Somalia going against al-Shabaab. That's a big deal. But the risks, they're also huge. This caution creates a vacuum. And you better believe rivals like China, the UAE, and Ethiopia, who all want a piece of that strategic Red Sea action, are more than happy to jump in and fill it. Plus, it puts the U.S. in the really awkward position of basically isolating its own ally, Israel.
And for now, the U.S. position has had a really powerful ripple effect. It's helped make sure that other major players, we're talking the African Union, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, are all siding with Somalia and condemning Israel's move. So Israel's historic decision? It's pretty much isolated on the world stage.
Which brings us to the future. Because even with this very firm stance from the White House, the final chapter on this whole issue is, well, it's far from written.
President Trump's own words are pretty telling here. When he says that all matters remain under study, he's sending a signal. He's saying that while the policy is firm right now, it isn't necessarily permanent. If things in the region change, especially with growing threats in the Red Sea, the U.S. position could definitely be reconsidered.
And that leaves us with one final crucial thought. I think the key takeaway here is that in the complicated world of geopolitics, a firm no today can easily become a strategic maybe tomorrow. So the question is understudy just a policy of caution, or is it a door being deliberately left open for the future? Only time is going to tell.